Hi, Tim Yao here, Community Pioneer in Roundhouse Park in Cringleford, and welcome to this week's edition of Cringleford Assembly. This week, we're going to be looking at all things around All Saints and All Souls Day. Now, they may not be festivals you are really up to speed with, but we'll be exploring that in a bit. But first of all, as usual, we start with a track, and we're going to start with a song by Paul McCartney and friends, Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In. Hope you enjoy it.
When the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, yes, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in.
That was the 2020 version of When the Saints Go Marching In by Paul McCartney, and with Dave Matthews, Dave Grohl, Elvis Costello, and many more. It was recorded with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band in New Orleans. It was recorded in lockdown, and it was a way to raise funds for all the work that's going there with young musicians and media. That song has been recorded many, many times, and its origins are kind of unknown. It's murky. In the 1900s, people were starting to sing it, but it was really brought to the public eye in 1938 by Louis Armstrong and his orchestra, when it was played really upbeat and became a favourite. In 2007, Bruce Springsteen did his own cutback version in a live session in Dublin, and he prefaced it with these words: "We are all travelling in the footsteps of those that had come before, and we'll all be reunited on that new and sunlit shore." In his version, there's a real deep longing to be with those people who are no longer with us, the people who have died and passed on, friends, neighbours, work colleagues, acquaintances, even people we don't know. At this time of year, when people have been dressing up in kind of spooky costumes, and it almost becomes like a festival, the dead at Halloween, it's easy to kind of cartoonify the kind of that side of death. But all of us are and will be touched by it at some point. I wonder, who do you miss? Who is it that's had an impact on your life that you wish was still here, and in the words of that song, wish to be reunited with on that sunlit shore? In that song, it talked about saints, and saints is an archaic word, and but we still use it today. Often when we think of saints, we think of people who are really virtuous and kind of beyond reproach, people who we could only aspire to be like. I'm sure you've got your own modern day saint that's stuck in your head. But also we have those associations with stained glass windows, statues in churches, these kind of holier than holy people, people who are almost like legends or fables, and sometimes it's really hard to relate to some of the stories we hear about them. But saints are more than just stained glass versions of themselves. Saints were real people with their own problems and mess ups and their own flaws. A saint really is just a holy person, and a holiness is about being dedicated to God, being set apart, trying to live a pure life and a life of devotion to God. We may not feel like a saint. We may be very aware of our own failures, but the saints in the Bible were just like us in many ways. One day, Jesus was with his closest friends, and they got together and they said, God, who is going to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? They were all kind of jockeying for position. Who is going to be the best? Who is going to be the most well-known? Who's going to be remembered? Who's going to be number one? Well, Jesus had some words for them that they went away puzzled. In response, Jesus called the child over and said to his friends, I promise you this, if you don't change and become like a child, you will never get into the kingdom of heaven. But if you are humble, and as humble as this child, you will be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. I mean, that is puzzling words. in this life, we want to make a name for ourselves. We want to be famous. We want to be a celebrity. We want to leave a legacy, whether it's through our family or through our work or whatever we do. We'd love to be remembered. And so many people spend so much of their life trying to leave monuments, whether physical monuments like statues or in their work. You know, what would your obituary say? What would you be remembered for? But Jesus is saying that none of that stuff counts. What counts is not bigging yourself up and making a name for yourself. It's to be humble, to be like a little child, full of awe, full of wonder at the world, willing to ask difficult questions, making mistakes, dusting yourself down, getting up, looking for help when you need it, not being a self-made person, not being number one. It's being at the bottom of the rung. I wonder how that feels to you, living a life of humbleness. If that's what it means to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, then all of us has a chance to be a saint. It's not about being the best or the most amazing. It's about being humble like a child. I wonder what the world would look like if we all took on that sense of humility and simplicity and a sense of wonder at the world like a small child. The task for us this week is can you find a saint that's worth following? Is there someone who's lived a life of humility, of love, of generosity, of kindness, of goodness, who we can say, well, look, I'd love to be a little bit like that. I'm a long way off and I need a lot of help, but I'd love to be more this person, whoever it is. Well, that's it for this week for Cringleford Assembly. Hope we see you again sometime. Remember, we're here every Sunday, 10 o'clock on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. And if I don't see you during the week, I'll see you next time. Bye.